Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Thursday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan, live in our American Metal Roofs studio. And that's just a couple blocks from the Capitol here in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building across the street from the baseball stadium. And we talk politics. It's our family business, and why wouldn't we? We're right here in the state capitol, but we're heard on radio stations all across the state, including Mount Pleasant, Petoskey, Traverse City, Hastings, Saginaw, Lansing, of course, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, and St. Joe, Benton Harbor. And we're very glad to have you with us this morning, listening on the radio or watching on Fox 47 television if you happen to be in the Lansing area. If you're elsewhere in our state, including the snowy Traverse City, Petoskey area, and you say, I'd like to see what that program looks like, well, get in the car and drive down one of these days. We have a studio here that's built for entertaining. We have a lobby with memorabilia. You can watch the show from the sidewalk right out front, just like the Today Show. And even better, there's a coffee house right next door with windows that open into the studio. So it makes it like one big morning coffee chat, if you will. And we'd love to have you with us right here on Michigan Avenue between Cedar and Larch. Otherwise, you can go to your computer and go to MichiganTalkNetwork.com, and there you can connect to our YouTube channel. You can do that various ways. We also have a Facebook page. And all of the interviews that you hear every day are podcasted again at MichiganTalkNetwork.com. You can see pictures of the staff. You can find out what we're all about right there at MichiganTalkNetwork.com. But for right now, you can settle back, turn up your radio, put the toast in the toaster, and have a seat, or start the shower, or roll over and say, I think I'll give it another 20 minutes, because we'll be right here with you through the rest of the morning. We're going to tackle some very interesting topics this morning and have some great conversation. And the phone lines, too, remember that when people made phone calls, are always open at 888-900-9966. Gary Austin is the anchor man, and he's going to bring us up to date on some of the news right about now. Good morning, Gary.
Well, good morning, Michael. Did you catch this new survey just out?
Tell me, what survey?
It shows President Obama and Mitt Romney, if they matched up against each other, a near tie, according to this one.
Romney versus Obama. Mm-hmm. All right.
That's the latest. Support for the president, 46% among the 1,084 registered voters who took part in this new survey. Now, Romney comes in with 45%. Mm-hmm. Romney is closing the gap from January. I guess survey was done earlier, too. And at that time, in January, the president led 38%. So Mitt Romney, not even declared, he's gaining ground in the last 3 months.
I don't have to remind anyone what that means, right?
Remind us anyway.
I could be United States Ambassador to Ireland.
That's what it all means.
Mitt Romney, whose father was the governor of Ireland, was the governor of Michigan, promised me the last time he was campaigning for president. I took it as a promise when I asked him if he were to become president, could I be ambassador to Ireland? I thought it was a definitive promise.
What shot have I got at being named U.S. Ambassador to Ireland?
Well, with a name like Michael Patrick, I think you got a pretty good shot indeed.
My fingers are crossed then. Thank you very much.
Wasn't that a promise? Promise is a promise.
Yeah, it sounds like it to me. Now years have passed since Mitt Romney made that promise.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I don't think promises.
But you know what? He'll be back on Mackinac Island for the Republican Leadership Conference.
Yes.
In September.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, he used to run around on Mackinac Island when he was a kid because his father was the governor and they had the governor's residence up there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to revisit that with him to make sure he remembers.
You know what I say? I say true promises from the heart should never have an expiration date.
I might even carry that little thing on a tape, and say, here, listen to this iPod. This is what you said.
Listen.
Yeah, I might. The president, by the way, is in Reno, Nevada today. He's doing these town hall meetings on deficit reduction, and that's where he is. He's out in Nevada today. And I guess we're going to hear from Governor Snyder, and he will not shy away from any of the sacred cows of education. There's going to be a sweeping and detailed special message on the subject next week. Probably will be controversial, according to a person familiar with his plans. Teacher tenure and merit pay are expected to be among the items on the table. Snyder's address is still being finalized. It's going to deal with education outcomes and systems as much or more than financial issues, according to some sources. So that's Paul Egan at the Detroit News reporting that, and he's going to take, he's been taking it on the chin from education with these sit-ins and protests and the possibility of a strike and all that. So it looks like he's going to get a little bit proactive and say, I'll take the battle to them. That's
So-
what it sounds like to me. Doesn't it sound that way to you?
Yeah, sure. I know teacher tenure, merit pay, those are two touchy issues. And I know in the past, it's been discussed before, and, to change all of that, the revisions within the system that it would take to change things that within the system have been going on for years and years, I mean, for as long as we can remember, and to undo all of that is going to take, it's delicate, it's going to take time, and that you're going to have half the people are going to be mad at you, the other half are probably going to be even madder, so it's a big job.
We'll see. What else is going on? Oh, your news is a service of?
Our friends at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Check out this website if you want to see terrific pictures of what a metal roof. It's not your old-fashioned metal roof from years ago. This is new state-of-the-art stuff. They don't even look like metal roofs. You can see them all. Terrific pictures, testimonials from those who've had this done to their homes, and the whole shoot and match right there. AmericanMetalRoofs.com, the website, or you can call them 877-569-4700, 877-569-4700. AmericanMetalRoofs.com. We have a new director of the State Department of Corrections, it looks like, right?
We do.
We do.
The governor appointed him yesterday.
Yep. Dan Hines. He's been Jackson County Sheriff for a long time. And in a news release from the governor's office, the governor said this guy has all the credentials, all the qualifications to take over a job that's going to promise to be very, very tough. I mean, it used to be, for those who had this job, as well, any job in state government, you could just focus on the job. But now it's the job and the potential for budget cuts, having to tell your staff you've got to do more with less. I mean, it's a whole new ball game now for people who find themselves in directors' positions. In any venue in state government today, it really has changed. So, but Dan Hines, everybody I've talked to is a great guy and certainly well qualified for this, which will be a very, very tough job, no question about that.
We'll see.
Yes.
What else?
Well, I guess it looks like, boy, I tell you, Bernard Taylor, Grand Rapids School Superintendent, he's a very popular guy. He confirmed yesterday he is, in fact, a finalist for a job in Cleveland. And it's all intents and purposes the same thing he's doing in Grand Rapids now. They're looking for someone to be the CEO of the district. And Bernard Taylor said yesterday he likes the aggressive approach to getting things in order financially in Cleveland. That's appealing to him. So he's one of the finalists. Now, how this is going to boil down when a final decision is going to be made, we still have to see. But he confirmed yesterday he is, in fact, in the running for that job. Sad story here out of Kalamazoo County. The Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety officer Monday night, Eric Zapata, went to a call, and these officers, this has got to be the toughest job anybody could ever do. You never know what you're going to be faced with, and sadly he was faced with a guy with a gun, and Eric Zapata was shot and killed. The guy who killed him turned the gun and then shot himself. In the history of the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety, this has never happened before. An officer has never lost their life, but it happened on Monday, and there's a big effort in Kalamazoo now to raise money for the family and, to help him out. And his sister, Irene Ferguson, said, quoting here, the family has really appreciated, quote, the reading and hearing all of the words of kindness and support for Eric. By the way, his funeral is going to be at the Miller Auditorium on the Western Michigan University campus, 11 o'clock next Tuesday morning, and you can bet there's going to be a big turnout for that.
By the way, our West Michigan affiliate, Grand Rapids 1340 WJRW, is having special attention today to the You're Not Alone project. It's a local initiative with a simple mission to collect donations to be used to help strengthen families during their most challenging times. And they are asking you to help 3 local children whose father died over 2 years ago. And earlier this month, they lost their mother, too. And there's not much that can be done to lessen the heartbreak, but they want to help these children. They're facing an uncertain future, and they're asking for donations by going to 1340amwjrw.com or any Fifth Third Bank branch, or call 800-785-1073. Visa, MasterCard, American Express are welcome. It's going on today in Grand Rapids for families. These 3 young children lost both of their parents.
Yeah, but both parents gone, and as a result, these 3 kids are orphans. So that'd be great. Do whatever you can to help. We have a new survey out. You'll find this curious. 44% of those in our country Now listen, they see capitalism clashing with Christianity. They say there's a problem with the two.
Selfishness.
Isn't that, there's a fine line. I mean, some may say, no, wait a minute, that's not fair. But according to this, 44%, better than 4 in 10, say capitalism does clash with Christianity in that way. 36% say they're perfectly compatible with a free market system and Christian values, saying there's no conflict there. So what do you think?
You know who we're going to hear from a little bit later? Julie Bowen, who was on the show Boston Legal. And if you remember the Happy Gilmore movie, the golf movie with Adam Sandler, Julie Bowen was the PR executive from the golf tour who was always trying to keep him in line, his love interest in the movie. Julie Bowen will join us a little bit later.
Good.
Now, can police download info from your cell phone when they pull you over? Is it happening, and is it legal? We'll find out when we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields on Thursday. And so the ACLU now is asking the Michigan State Police to explain the details of this device and whether or not it's being used and all that sort of thing. So we have assembled an interesting roundtable this morning. Jonathan Raven from Fraser, Trebilcock, Davis, and Dunlap is here. Good morning to you. Thanks for being here so early. And we also have Brian Morley, also from Fraser, Trebilcock, Davis, and Dunlap, and former law enforcement official.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
On the telephone with us, we are joined by Greg Zartoni. He is an inspector with the Michigan State Police. Thank you for being available this morning.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
So where do we begin? First of all, we're seeing it on Drudge Report. We're seeing it on the network news, this story that the Michigan State Police have this device through which you can download the information from people's cell phones. Is that true?
Michael Patrick, yes. And I guess I would say that all the hype that's around this case or this issue, if it were true, I would be, as a citizen, I would be concerned too. However, I think this is a case of a mountain out of a molehill. We do have devices that can extract data from cell phones. I think people would expect in this day and age that law enforcement will have devices that have that capability. However, you need to be aware that when you go to the mall to have your cell phone replaced or upgraded, those employees at the mall also have these devices, and that's what they were originally intended to do. They've just been adapted for law enforcement purposes.
Well, actually, you can do it on your own laptop. It's called a backup, right? Where you take all the information and save it. In case you lose your phone, you can reinstall it on another device. But
Absolutely.
The question is, when you get pulled over for a traffic violation, let's say by a state police trooper, are the troopers taking or asking to take the mobile phones and download the data?
Some of our troopers that have special training in this area for criminal interdiction purposes do have the accessibility of these devices. However, we have very few. I would say we have less than a half a dozen in the entire state, and they would be only used in the case where a person who had the cell phone or the mobile device either gave consent, and we prefer written consent, or if we had a search warrant for the device.
Have there been cases?
So on a traffic stop, there's no way that we don't have devices that can just scan someone's cell phone. We would never just take someone's cell phone without asking them for consent to search the contents of their cell phone.
But what would be the reason one of the troopers would ask someone to download their cell phone?
The teams that have these are again, they have special training, and they specialize in criminal interdiction throughout the state on the highways, and they focus on certain types of crimes. For instance, drug trafficking, or in certain cities, we place our teams to focus on crime that are, for instance, you might have a rash of crime in a certain city. We send those teams in to assist with that. So the long and short of it is that we have approximately 950 troopers in the state. This is available to about 6 of them.
So go ahead, Brian Morley.
Troop, good morning. This is Brian Morley. I'm an attorney here in Lansing. I got a question as to who decides and what criteria is used before you're allowed to use these. And I understand completely on drug interdiction. Again, you're getting into more specialized enforcement areas, but who decides? Is it up to the trooper, or is it higher level command decision, or who decides?
Well, the trooper would stop the car for a traffic violation. Of course, they would have to have some type of reason to stop the vehicle. They would approach the vehicle and decide based on their training experience whether the stop needed to go further than a normal traffic stop. And there's a multitude of reasons that the trooper would make that decision. Most of these devices are carried by supervisors in their vehicles, and if the trooper decided that the incident or the stop needed to go a little further, they would probably call in their supervisor, the sergeant on the road, to come and assist them with the issue.
Sure. So it's not higher up. It's actually a case by case or a stop by stop. There's not?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Jonathan Raven, if you're pulled over by a state trooper and he asks you to take your mobile phone, and I presume he's going to produce a document that you have to sign that says it's okay, can you say no?
Certainly you can, and typically I would think that given the training that I know our law enforcement people go through, the officer would probably say, may I, do you mind if I take a look at your this or that, your trunk? And it's a friendly thing, and it's, usually it can be effective. People often say yes. They don't have to, and the officer knows that, and the officer knows that that's about as far as it goes when you say no. So it's not like we're making a TV show every time there is a request for this, but often people waive their rights without knowing it.
Because they're trying to be agreeable.
Of course. Yeah. And often they have nothing to hide, too. I mean, it's not like every case is going to be a test case that gets involved here. But, this is an interesting thing because we've talked before a lot about data and how it can be used and what's done with it and how law enforcement can use it in particular. It's a bigger societal issue. It will be, because there is no such thing as privacy anymore. Everybody that uses electronic devices or goes anywhere should assume that just about everything they do outside of their home and many things they do in are going to be recorded and going to be there forever. So it isn't about somebody actually spying on you or all the time looking after you, but you're out there, you're doing things with a keyboard there and a phone. So it's there. It's going to be there. There are always standards for how these things are used. They're going to emerge. Legally, they will be tested. There will be limits. There will be cases that will come up, and our legal system will address them. But it's going to be case by case. It's going to be based on guidelines, and you can assume, a friend of mine is involved, the training and standards for law enforcement are huge. There's a lot of people spending a lot of time working for the state police to make sure they're all trained, and the local law enforcement standards, how to use new things. That's going to continue to go on. There are lawyers that work on this. They know what they're doing, but there will be test cases. They're going to get a lot of sensationalism and hype, and they're going to be interesting legal cases, and we're going to be here to help everybody listen to the stories.
Yeah. They used to call it a paper trail. Now I guess it's a vapor trail, or some sort of electronic footprint, if you want to call it that. Mr. Zartoni, would the officers ever use this request to look at the mobile device to determine whether someone was texting while driving?
Michael Patrick, I don't think that that's one of the crimes that we're focusing on with the use of these devices. They're usually high level, as I stated before, drug trafficking types of situations. Also I'd like to point out that that the most prevalent use of these is by our computer crimes forensic examiners. And some of the crimes that they deal with are child exploitation cases. And these types of criminals tend to keep a lot of information on their mobile devices. And these situations do not occur on traffic stops. They are done in a forensic situation. And the use of these devices is critical to law enforcement to download that information and get that information for court use.
Inspector, no disrespect at all, because, and let me preface this by saying, the Michigan State Police are the most well-trained law enforcement in the state of Michigan, and I have the utmost respect, but we're blurring the lines here, I think. The issue is becoming, I agree with you 100%. Who wouldn't? As a dad, child exploitation, I want to make sure that our Michigan State Police have the computer technology and capability to download, but where did we go from computer technology to download to traffic stops? And then the traffic stop issue becomes, and Troop, I'm sure you know it as well as I do, the request for consent is masked, and the issue becomes, if you see a nice, impressive trooper in a uniform who says, "Sir, can I look at your cell phone?" the average individual doesn't know or doesn't feel that they can refuse, and police will push this a little further and say, well, if you've done nothing wrong, why can't we look at your cell phone? What's the big deal? and you're going to get detained a little bit longer. I don't understand the blurring of the lines. I understand completely on a drug interdiction. If, in fact, you have a target subject, you want to know who he's calling, potentially who he's dealing drugs to. But where's the bar? It just seems to be an all-over-the-board traffic stop case by case. What would stop me from, if you wanted to see my cell phone on the way home?
And I would say that the people that are using these have additional training in identifying indicators that might lead them to believe that you're involved in some type of criminal activity. If it's just a random traffic stop or a quote-unquote routine traffic stop, this issue would never arise.
Maybe not, but again, I don't want to fight with you. You can't say that. Michael Patrick just asked you if it would be involved in texting. You said, I don't know. I would, again, there's no such thing as a routine traffic stop, but a texting traffic stop would presumably be routine. And I think we've already inferred that there could be a reason to use it on a texting traffic stop. So there's a wide spectrum there that I'd be curious if, in fact, there's a policy directive from the Michigan State Police. I'd be curious to see what that directive says.
You know, this is why the discussion is great, because new technology is going to continue to emerge. It's going to make these good people and we think about what are the limits? How do we do it? I assure you that after this conversation, everybody's going to look at this and say, all right, there's some things we need to think about. John Q. Public, again, what are your rights? What does this mean to you legally? There's data everywhere. You punch something into your phone while you're driving. If you're texting, you are breaking the law in Michigan. And there is a chance that somebody might get your cell phone and look at it and prove that at that moment you were keying something in. Or maybe they'll find you weren't and you were calling your wife. But you assume from now on, everybody, that if you did something and it was breaking the law, you know what? You might just leave trails. And that's the way it goes. Some of it will be free game for law enforcement and should be, and some of it they're going to learn that maybe they can't use, just like with any other technology.
This won't be the last time we talk about something like this, and you know, we could go on for hours about, you know, what if you did it at home? What if you took your husband's cell phone and downloaded everything off there onto your computer so you could at leisure review what he's been up to? Is that? I mean, it's just amazing. It's a brave new world, and I appreciate the time Greg Zartoni, inspector with the Michigan State Police, and Brian Morley and Jonathan Raven from Fraser to Bilcock Davis and Dunlap PC. You have the main office in Lansing and others around the state as well?
Yes, we do. We have actually people in Grand Rapids and Detroit, and we run around between them.
Well, thank you for running around with us so early this morning. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael
Good
Patrick.
to be here.
Thanks, Inspector.
See you again soon.
Nice talking to
35
you.
minutes after the hour. 20 minutes before the hour, the controversial Florida pastor Terry Jones has been denied a permit to protest outside the Islamic Center of America in Dearborn tomorrow by the city of Dearborn. The city officials say he faces arrest if he goes through with that demonstration. You remember he's the guy who got international notoriety for threatening to burn a Quran on September 11th. He says he plans to demonstrate against Sharia law and radical Islam in Dearborn, even if he's going to get arrested. And he's going to be armed with a pistol, is what he's saying tomorrow on Good Friday. The Dearborn mayor, Jack O'Reilly, has been defending his city against claims it's ruled by Islamic law. He's written an open letter citing, if you can believe this, the city's 3 adult dance clubs and a sausage factory as examples why Dearborn is not under Sharia law. And that's one of the things that the pastor has. You know, some people say that's a Dearbornistan because there are so many people from outside the Middle East, living in Dearborn, and the pastor has suggested that that's the Sharia law in Dearborn, and the mayor says, no, look at that, that's not the case. Some of the controversy that's taking place this week, and tomorrow being Good Friday, we'll keep our eye on that for you as well. Brian Anderson is with us, the president and CEO of the Mid-Michigan Development Corporation. He's an MBA student right now at Northwood University, where they're celebrating 51 years of producing leaders and embracing free enterprise. Good morning to you.
Thank you. Thanks
Is
for
that
having
why
me.
you went to Northwood University?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, it was both the reputation of the university. I think everybody knows, especially in Michigan, that Northwood is one of the top business schools. And the fact that they have a graduate program that can really conform to a schedule of a working professional like myself. You know, my wife is also in the program too, so between the two of us, we're running around, you know, dropping kids at daycare. She works in Flint, I work in Mount Pleasant. So really, people in our situation, we don't go to grad school. We don't have time for it. And the Northwood program is not only an excellent education and gives us leadership experience, a whole variety of everything from finance to marketing to economics, you name it. If it is really involved in business, you're learning about it. But then it also is done in a schedule that really helps our lifestyle.
Do you think some of our major cities in mid-Michigan, Lansing and Mount Pleasant in particular, have the ability to grow in this economy?
You know, being in economic development as I am, I find that businesses right now really are trying to grow. You know, the number one thing that they're looking for right now is talent. It's not necessarily people with MBAs or even undergrad degrees, but people with skills. And the businesses tell me more often than anything that, you know, taxes and real estate, and these are all important, but the number one thing is they will locate wherever they can get access to the best talent. And having programs like Northwood in a region is definitely one of the ways that you can really enhance your municipality or your region as far as providing a service to those businesses so they can grow. So
growth, you're saying, for the businesses that you talk to in your position is based on the ability to get talent and sustain the growth.
Absolutely. You know, if any employer out there has ever, you know, tried to deal with a problem employee or a person who just couldn't cut it, you know, that's not just a this week problem. That can be 6 months to a year that you're trying to recover from that. So having the right people in a job and people with skills who know what they're doing, you know, who don't take a long time to get trained, can hit the ground running, that's a real asset that an area can provide to a business. And, you know, having come from Lansing myself, you know, I know that that's one of our key features, and that's one of the reasons why we're able to have, you know, great projects like this accident fund project that recently completed. You know, if they couldn't get access to talent, if we didn't have this huge, you know, cluster of these insurance companies around here, you know, where would we be? And so the idea that you have specially trained professionals who can work in that environment, you know, really puts this position really with a strong foundation for growth.
So how is it that we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the nation in Michigan? Seems like a disconnect. If there are businesses hungry to grow with talent and people hungry for jobs, why aren't they lining up, I wonder?
You know, it's interesting. With a lot of the employers that I meet with, we hear very often that they're having a hard time finding people with the correct skills. You know, I think that sometimes when you look at Michigan historically, you know, we put the world on wheels, and a lot of that was through having a very comfortable lifestyle for you know, I hate this term, but unskilled workforce. Well, the world is changing. You know, technology is always in play. So when you look at the future of Michigan and where we go with our, you know, rebounding from this you know, 10-year-long recession that we seem to be in, you know, it seems like now is the time where getting those skills is ever more an issue, and finding access to people with that talent. So yes, you know, it has been, I think, a slow road to get our skills built up in some areas of this economy, especially as we look to diversify. But, you know, I think we're poised for growth, and if you look at the Lansing region, you know, having a program like Northwood so people can get that training, get that additional education, and make themselves appealing to employers because they have that foundation, you know, that's going to put us in a better position going forward.
All right, thank you very much. Very impressive, and nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
We're here every day, so don't be a stranger. I know you're working in Mount Pleasant, living in Lansing still?
Absolutely.
So you're on the 127 trail every day?
Every day.
Watch out for deer and potholes. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a million. That's Brian Anderson, the president and CEO of the Mid-Michigan Development Corporation, getting his MBA at Northwood University. You can go to northwood.edu and find out why they're celebrating free enterprise and producing leaders like Brian Anderson himself. It's 14 before the hour. We'll talk about leaders in the Hall of Fame and the sports report, too, when we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Well, the PGA Tour is at Harbor Town and Hilton Head for the Heritage Classic, and at 7:20 this morning, the opening starting time is John Daly, Kevin Na, and Jesper Parnevik. Can you imagine the big numbers that John Daly and Kevin Na could put up together? I mean, they would be racing to see who could get the highest score in history in a PGA Tour event, because it was last week that Kevin Na got a 16, didn't he, in San Antonio there at the Texas Open. And John Daly, I know he's thrown up some big numbers. I think he did it in the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Didn't he have an 11 on a hole or something like that? Not exactly Hall of Fame stuff, but we'll be keeping our eyes on the Harbortown tournament for you. Jack Peter is with us right now. He's the Chief Operating Officer and Senior Vice President of the World Golf Hall of Fame and Museum in St. Augustine, Florida. Good morning to you.
Michael Patrick, good morning to you, sir. How are you today?
You never made a 16 on a hole, did you?
Not that I would admit to.
That's
no, sir.
Exactly right. That's why you tear up the scorecard when the round is complete.
That's why they put an eraser on the pencil.
Oh, and thank God the handicapping system has something called equitable stroke control, which means you can't turn in the 16. It becomes a 5 or something like that to
well,
save.
There are the occasional 10s for sure.
Yeah. Snowman is what they call for the 8, so he got the double snowman there.
Exactly.
Those kind of numbers don't show up in the World Golf Hall of Fame naturally, but there will be as we get ready for the Players' Championship, the next big event on the golf schedule. That week, there will be inductions at the World Golf Hall of Fame, and we're excited to be broadcasting from that event. And the nominees this year who will be inducted that night are?
Well, we've got Doug Ford. Doug is a colorful character. He came in through the veterans category. He's really one of the old school characters of the game. I think Doug's 89 years old now, but one of the original founders of the Champions Tour. A great guy, and I tell you, has just tremendous stories to tell. I think he turned pro in 1950, which gives you some idea of how far back he goes.
Yeah.
He has seen it all.
And Ernie Els is going to be in that class, too. Ernie Els has, I think, 3 major championships, 2 U.S. Opens, a British Open, and he's playing this week at Harbortown, in fact, so we'll root for him. It'd be nice for him to wear that plaid jacket you win at Harbortown into the Hall of Fame induction, wouldn't it?
It would be great. It's been great to get to know Ernie. His family's going to be with him. Johan Rupert's a prominent South African businessman, is going to introduce him. It'll be great to have the Big Easy with us, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the guy who wasn't so easy, who I had the pleasure to know, Frank Cherkinian, who passed away just last month, was more known better as the Ayatollah, because he was the toughest television director you'd ever want to meet, but also the most talented, and he revolutionized the way golf is on television. And so our good friend Jim Nance will be there to induct his former boss, Frank Cherkinian, and Jim Nance will also be inducting former President George Herbert Walker Bush, and he and his family have made gigantic contributions to the sport of golf.
Yeah, President Bush is a real special inductee for us, Michael Patrick. He has meant so much to the game, his involvement with the First Tee and the President's Cup, and just been a real champion of the game and the sport. And we're sorry that he has a scheduling conflict, can't be with us, but Jim Nance and I had a chance to be in Houston and film his acceptance speech. It's very heartfelt. He did a really nice job for us.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy given to tears when he gets emotional about things, and when you think about the fact that his family is also deeply rooted in the USGA. He was the chairman emeritus, I think, of the First Tee. There's a lot of golf there, other than Cape Arundel, their beloved Cape Arundel Golf Club there in Maine, where Jim Nance and I have both gone up there and had done our pilgrimages with President Bush. Dan Hicks from NBC will be emceeing the event.
He still holds the record at Cape Arundel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I think Phil Mickelson had it for a while, and it's an old-fashioned course there, but all the tour pros have come through to pay their respects to President Bush. Dan Hicks from NBC, this is open to the public May 9th. It's the World Golf Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The late Jock Hutchison and then Jumbo Ozaki, too, will be honored that night. But for people who aren't being inducted into the Hall of Fame, if they come to visit, it's right off of I-95 south of Jacksonville when you're going to Florida or through Florida. What will they find in the Hall of Fame?
Well, our visitors will find they will find a Hall of Fame that is bigger than they expected. Yeah. Every visitor comment that we've had for 13 years, they look at me and they go, I had no idea it was this big. First of all, I mean, the Hall of Fame is a 75,000 square foot museum. We have an IMAX theater attached to it, but inside the museum, thousands of golf artifacts that have been either donated or loaned to us from the members of the Hall of Fame really tell a very personal story about about the history of the game through the eyes of the Hall of Fame members. So it's a very, very good guest experience. There's lots of surprises. There's some interactivity, lots of video, lots of pictures. It's a great tour for people, and I would encourage everyone, if they're interested, to come on by.
Have you ever gone in there, gotten the keys and gone in there in the middle of the night and got one of the Masters jackets out of the cabinet and tried it on, see how you look?
There is a couple of pictures of me wearing some Masters jackets.
It's good fun.
But we don't really put them on the wire.
The induction is May 9th, but the hall is open almost every day of the year right there, right off of I-95.
Every day except Christmas and Thanksgiving.
It's a great spot. You can spend the day. They even have a replica hole, as I understand, of the 17th at Sawgrass, so you can take your shot at that, too. Very interactive. And we'll look forward to talking to you again before the induction and seeing you that night, too.
All right, you have a great day. Thank you.
All the best to Jack Peter. The World Golf Hall of Fame induction ceremony is coming up. Players Championship Week, the 5th major, as they call it, in Harbortown this week. We'll keep our eyes on it. It's Michael Patrick Shields, back right after the news. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Thursday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan, live this morning in our American Metal Roof studio in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building right on the Avenue of Michigan, just a couple blocks from the Capitol. Tomorrow, we will be at the American Metal Roofs Design Center in Charlotte. It's Earth Day tomorrow, so one of the topics we'll be talking about is how you can be green-friendly and save money on your energy bills tomorrow on Good Friday. It's 8 minutes after the hour. The You're Not Alone project is being highlighted at our Grand Rapids affiliate today, WJRW 1340 in Grand Rapids. They are asking you to help with a simple mission. They're collecting donations to be used to help strengthen families during their most challenging times. 3 local children in Grand Rapids lost both their father and their mother 2 years ago, and her mother died earlier this month, and they're obviously can't lessen the heartbreak, but they're trying to help these children who have an uncertain future. 3 young kids who lost both parents. So you can go into any Fifth Third Bank branch location in Grand Rapids or call 800-785-1073. If you want more information, you go to 1340amwjrw.com and find out more information about the You're Not Alone project at this Easter time. 9 minutes now after the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields coming up a little bit later. Julie Bowen, a little chat with her. We were just talking with Jack Peter from the World Golf Hall of Fame and the fact that the Heritage Classic is on today down at Hilton Head, probably for the last time because they don't have sponsorship anymore. And Julie Bowen, who had appeared with William Shatner on Boston Legal before that, her first big role was in Happy Gilmore. Remember, she was the PR lady from the golf tour, and she was Adam Sandler's love interest in the movie. You remember Happy Gilmore, right? This was the scene, the very famous scene with Adam Sandler and Bob Barker.
Oh! You like that, old man? You want a piece of me? I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing. Oh!
They're fighting in the middle of a pro-am.
I think you've had enough.
Rolling.
Now you're gonna get it, Bobby.
Yeah, punching each other and rolling around in the grass and the water.
The price is wrong.
And he tells them that famous line, "The price is wrong, Bob," or something like that. Anyway, Julie Bowen will join us coming up a little bit later. The anchorman, Gary Austin, is in the American Metal Roof newsroom right now. Good morning to you.
Well, good morning. This update is service of AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Check out the website, see it all, and put one of those roofs on your house and you'll never have to worry about the weather again. It's beautiful. It's guaranteed. AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Call them, too, if you'd like. 877-569-4700. 877-569-4700.
Gary, I know you're dying to know what happened to the Red Wings last night because the game was very late out in Phoenix. It was Game 4 of the opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Red Wings had a 3-0 advantage over the Coyotes. They could close them out last night. So did the Red Wings, in fact, close out the Coyotes late last night in Glendale, Arizona? Well, radio broadcaster Ken Cal was there.
Thanks, Michael Patrick. Dan Cleary netted the game-winning goal at 13:41 of the third period, giving the Red Wings a 6-3 win over the Phoenix Coyotes last night in Glendale, Arizona. Detroit swept Phoenix, winning 4-0. First period ended in a 2-2 tie. Thomas Holmstrom and Patrick Eve scored for Detroit. Taylor Pyatt and Shane Doan beat Jimmy Howard. Both teams connected on the power play in the second period. Martin Hansel scored on a pretty passing play. Nicholas Cronwall snapped the shot from the slot behind Ilya Bryzgalov. It was 3-3 after 40 minutes. Dan Cleary scored the game winner from an impossible angle from the left corner. The puck hit Bryzgalov, and went into the net behind him. Todd Bertuzzi, Patrick Eaves also scored for Detroit. Eaves' second goal. The contest came into an empty net. Detroit outshot Phoenix 39-27. The final again in Game 4, Red Wings 6 and the Phoenix Coyotes 3. That's the story from Glendale, Arizona. Now back to you, Michael Patrick, in the studio.
To say that 3 times real fast. Pretty passing play. Pretty passing play. Pretty passing play. Now, the Red Wings are the first team to advance in the playoffs. And they're going to have to wait and find out who they face in the Western Conference semifinals. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, they still have to travel all the way across the country for the next series because it's either going to be San Jose or L.A., I think. So at least they get some rest in between all that travel.
You know, I would have to say that there's one game in this series that taught you a big lesson. Never, ever leave.
Yeah, don't leave early.
Until the final buzzer goes, right?
It turns out that was a pretty close game, that game I went down to see at Joe Louis Arena. The Red Wings the Tigers won their second series of the year. 2 of 3 games from the Mariners yesterday, a 3-2 win in Seattle. Rick Porcello gets his first win of the year. He gave up just 1 run on 4 hits and struck out 6 in 6 2/3 innings. The Tigers have the day off today. They'll be back at Comerica Field, 3-game series against the White Sox tomorrow night. It's kind of weird baseball at this time of year, isn't it?
Sure is. Too cold.
The bullpen's getting some relief, though. Pitcher Ryan Perry has been recalled from AAA Toledo. He was on the disabled list because of an eye infection. So go get them, Tigers. And they're going to be back Comerica Park because the college teams are out of there. Yesterday was that game between Michigan State and Central Michigan University, played at Comerica Park, the first college game ever played at Comerica Park. And Michigan State beat Central Michigan 3-1 on Wednesday night in downtown Detroit. Spartans are 23-10 on the season. They scored all their runs in the first inning and got a strong performance from Andrew Wasak on the mound. It was fun for everyone, according to Jake Boss, the Michigan State head coach. It was a great experience. He was really proud of them, and there you have it. CMU played MSU at Comerica Park in the chilly cold yesterday in downtown Detroit. Dane Fife, since we're talking sports, we might as well, is returning to his home state. He's going to join Tom Izzo as an assistant basketball coach for Michigan State University. He was at IPFW for the past 6 seasons, and they played Michigan State, I think, every one of those years. So he didn't get too far, did he? And Mel Kiper, you know, the draft expert, he says that Michigan quarterback Denard Robinson is too small to be an NFL quarterback. Now, we're not wishing him away. You know, he's going to be at the University of Michigan for a while. He is 6 feet tall and 200 pounds because he bulked up a little bit in the winter, I guess. But he says that even at 6 feet, he's not a prototypical NFL quarterback, no matter what kind of offense he plays in. And he's going to be one of the best college football players in the country because you can't tackle him, you can't get your hands on him, and he can throw the football. But the size is always going to be there, and he thinks he's not big enough to be an NFL quarterback, for whatever that's worth. That's a look at sports this morning. Back to the news now with Gary Austin. Yeah. What's bubbling up now?
Well, you know who's stirring it up again?
Who's stirring it up?
Florida Pastor Terry Jones.
Oh, yeah, he wants to protest right here in Dearborn, right?
Yep.
He's the guy that wanted to burn the Koran on 9/11?
Yeah, back on September. Now he wants to protest tomorrow outside the Islamic Center of America. But to do that, he's got to have a permit, right? But the city of Dearborn said no. And he could be arrested if he does. Mm-hmm. Well, it sure sounds like this isn't going to stop him. Permit or not, he says he's protesting anyway. And guess what else he said? Telling the Detroit News, if things get out of hand, he's going to be armed.
He's going to be packing heat.
With a pistol.
Boy, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, we'll see what happens. Coming up tomorrow.
Kid Rock went back to his high school. Yeah. And did a surprise visit at Romeo High School.
Caught everybody off guard.
And he gave a $5,000 donation to help music education there. And here's what he told the students. This is his advice from Kid Rock.
Yeah.
Don't hang out with idiots. If you surround yourself with good people, you'll go far.
It's common sense.
Did you know Kid Rock dated Suzanne Heward? A lot of people know Suzanne Heward from Spotlight Media Marketing. They went out together in high school. And she's around an ad agency executive here in the mid-Michigan area. She went out with him. She said he was very shy in high school. He wasn't shy yesterday. Went throwing around money and telling kids not to hang out with idiots. Good for him. That's good advice.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is. It is. That's true.
If you surround yourself with good people, but it's tough to tell kids because they get all wrapped up in the peer pressure and they want to be with the cool kids, and sometimes the cool kids aren't so good.
Yeah, it's sort of the counterculture thing. If mom and dad say, you know, hang out with these guys, kids tend to hang out with the other guys. So maybe parents should say, you know, hang out with those guys, even if they think they shouldn't because, reverse psychology?
You get in trouble,
I'm not
though.
a parent. I'm not a parent. Yeah, that's right.
If you're in the car with a kid that
Don't
gets
take
in
my
trouble,
advice. Yeah.
you're in trouble too.
That's
even
right.
if you weren't doing anything.
That's right. That's right. I think parents, I don't think you can drive that point home enough. That guilt by association, it's true.
Yes,
it happens.
It's definitely true.
He's been Jackson County Sheriff since 2003, and here's a
What's he now?
mid-career change for Daniel Hines. He's accepted a job. Governor Snyder asked him, and he said yes. So he's going to be the new director of the State Department of Corrections.
Congratulations.
Way to go, Daniel Hines.
We'll make him our Northwood University Leader of the Day. Northwood University is celebrating 51 years of producing leaders and celebrating free enterprise.
Yes.
Thank you.
Talking about advice and making sure you're on the same wavelength with your kids, make sure you know what they're up to. Today is Power Talk 21 Day, as designated by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, a day where moms and dads are being encouraged to talk about the dangers of alcohol abuse and underage drinking with their kids. Got a strange case here out of Grand Rapids. City officials hope to get to the bottom of this. Listen, over 1 billion gallons of water. The question is, where did it go? A consultant's been hired to try to find out.
Missing water?
Yeah, using special equipment. This consultant's going to check older meters to see if they may not be accurate. The hunt's also going to be on for possible leaks. By the way, that 1 billion gallons missing in Grand Rapids, that's worth about $3 million. And that also comes out to about 10% of Grand Rapids, the entire city's water volume. So a big job
How
ahead
big
there for
is
that
Dick
consultant.
DeVos's swimming pool?
No.
I'm just asking.
No.
18 after the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields. 24 minutes after the hour, Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. We're going to be watching very closely Governor Rick Snyder because he's saying he's not going to shy away from sacred cows of education. There will be a sweeping and detailed special message on the subject next week, according to the Detroit News. It's likely to be controversial, according to a person familiar with the plans. Teacher tenure and merit pay are expected to be among the items on the table. The address is still being finalized, so stay tuned for that. That ought to heat things up next week. And, a lot of people are saying, can we please heat things up around here? It's supposed to be spring. There's snow all over Petoskey and Traverse City. It's cold and blowy here in mid-Michigan and Grand Rapids and Lansing and Mount Pleasant and Saginaw, all the places we're heard. Maybe you want to get away. And if you do get away on an airplane for Easter weekend, there are going to be new rules. They won't be in place this weekend, but they will be soon. The airlines are going to be required to refund your baggage fee if they lose your luggage. They will not require the airlines to refund fees if the bags are delivered late. That's what we thought might happen. If your bags came late, you're going to get your money back. That's not the case. They're already required to compensate passengers for the value of lost bags, whether or not a fee was paid to check them. And those rules will also force airlines to include fees, taxes, and hidden surcharges in the advertised price. So, sometimes carriers have to pay passengers up to twice the cost of the ticket if they're bumped or from an overbooked flight. And the old maximum was $400. So maybe now if you get bumped, you might get compensation of up to $800. That's going to take a few months to implement, though, but it's a victory, I think, for air passengers. We'll talk to Allison Buckneberg from Delta Vacations coming up a little bit later. The Dow was up 187 yesterday. The S&P was up 18, and the NASDAQ was up 58. I guess stock shifted into rally mode thanks to positive earnings reports from companies like Intel and United Technologies. Major League Baseball is taking control of the L.A. Dodgers. The commissioner, Bud Selig, said he's informed the owner, Frank McCourt, that he's appointing a representative to oversee all aspects of the day-to-day operations of the team. Why? It's a result of the league's deep concern over the finances and operations of the Los Angeles Dodgers, one of the premier teams, at least in terms of image, in Major League Baseball. We never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. Britain's Queen Elizabeth II is 85 today and getting ready for the royal wedding next Friday. We'll have full coverage of that. And Andie MacDowell, remember her in 4 Weddings and a Funeral and Groundhog Day? And Town and Country and some other shows, too. She's been on lots of magazine covers. Andie MacDowell is 53. Happy birthday, darlings, to you. Coming up later, Julie Bowen, who appeared in Happy Gilmore. And there's a brand new deal that Hyundai is putting out. And this came out of the New York Auto Show yesterday. A real surprise. Could be a game changer when it comes to buying a car. So we'll let you know what that is with Cheryl Freeborough coming up shortly. Bill Spencer is with us here in our American Metal Roof studio, just a couple blocks to the Capitol. He's the Vice President of Operations for Covenant Eyes. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Thanks for being here indeed. We sure appreciate that. And Brennan Brown is here too, the faculty manager, professor of economics at Northwood University.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. Good to be back with you.
Thank you very much for being here too. Let's start with you if we could. I just said that the market rallied yesterday. We hear gold prices are over $1,500 an ounce. We know gas prices in some parts of the country are $5 a gallon. What are we to make of the current economic situation? We're over 10,000 again with the Dow. Some people thought it would be a long time before that happened.
Sure.
Put all that together, and we don't know what to think.
You're absolutely right. It's mixed messages almost on a daily basis. I think a couple of things we can take away. On the positive side, gold is booming, as you've mentioned, and silver. Oftentimes when people are looking for alternatives to your traditional investments, they will seek safe haven in gold and silver because they're tangible, they're real, and they will always hold value. So that's on a positive side. Things that we have to be cautious about are our unemployment rate. We are still fifth in the nation at over 10%. We need to get back to job creation and encouraging entrepreneurship.
Do you think when it comes to entrepreneurs that Donald Trump is a viable candidate for President of the United States?
Well, he certainly has had success in the private sector, and if he could translate that into the public sector by looking at cutting costs, reducing spending, and maximizing value, I see no reason why he couldn't be a viable candidate.
What about the classic argument? We're going to hear it next week when it comes to education, as I just talked about. We're hearing it all the time now that we can't afford X, but we need X. In other words, we need decent roads to attract business, and our quality of life costs money. You want government services, you got to pay for it. Nobody wants their taxes raised, and at the same time, we are top over tea kettle, if you'll pardon the pun. Where's the answer in all that?
Well, we have a couple of options, and I think looking at the facts first were important. Number one, Michigan has lost over 55,000 residents since 2000, which means Michigan is the only state in the union to have lost population.
Wow.
So therefore, we look at that as a baseline and can deduce that perhaps across the board cuts need to be taken everywhere, including education, including transportation. We're servicing fewer and fewer residents. Now, the flip side of that would be, what are we going to do to attract new investors, to attract new residents to the state of Michigan? And as you heard from Brian Anderson this morning, what are we going to do to attract talent into the Michigan job market?
And what are we going to do?
Well, it can start by sending more students to Northwood University, where we're developing the future leaders of a global free enterprise society, like Bill Spencer here, who is doing that very thing.
Bill, what are you up to?
We are a software company that basically families will load on their computers. It monitors where their children will go on the internet and blocks the pornography, basically, or any of the information that parents want to block. So we are one of the top 50 companies in the state of Michigan. We won that award last year. It's growing, and we're hiring. We actually are still looking for software engineers. We've hired somebody from Massachusetts 2 weeks ago. He started, and we're still looking for another software engineer.
No kidding. Where are you based?
Out of Owasso, Michigan.
Owasso.
Yeah.
The idea of keeping kids from finding bad things on the internet seems almost impossible. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, if you ask me. If you were going to invent a venue for pornography, it seemed like the internet would be what you would come out with if you were going backwards. It's everywhere, isn't it?
It's everywhere. That's exactly it. And in the old days, you used to have to sneak either peek under your dad's mattress or something like that to go to a store. Now it's so easily accessible on the internet. It's sad. So we've been around for 11 years, and basically we provide an application that allows parents to basically watch over their children's shoulders to be able to see what's going on with their computer as they're using the computer. So
it's very insidious, though, because I noticed yesterday on Facebook, I saw a number of entries that said, "I can't believe it. This girl committed suicide right on camera.
Right.
See it here." And that message was coming from people who I know would never forward a message like that on Facebook. So there was some kind of virus got into the system, and it tricks people.
Right.
I've also seen banking things online that it looks like it's coming from my bank because they have the logo and all the right data, but I stare very closely whenever I get something like that, because if you look hard, you can find little sort of things that don't jive.
Right. And most of your banking industries do not do sending of emails of that nature. So.
Yeah, but you learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Even for adults.
Yeah, a lot of people trust it, and they still try to respond to them the wrong way and give them the wrong information. But our application is designed to protect the families. We have 70,000 clients in about 150 countries, and we've been growing double digits in the last 4 or 5 years in revenue and customer signups. Most of our revenue comes from out of the state of Michigan. We're just having a ball growing, and we provide technology, which I think the state of Michigan is vital. That's one area they could grow the business in Michigan. The auto industry obviously has its concerns, but there's a lot of technology companies in Michigan that can bring some professional people into this state and provide some good paying jobs.
Was there something that happened that provoked you to start this company, to get involved with this?
I'm one of 5 owners. The original owner started it 11 years ago, and basically he's one of those visionary type entrepreneurs who, his name is Ron DeHaas, and his family was desiring the internet at his house, and he said, I like the idea, but I just want to make sure that none of the stuff that's out there, because now you're accessing the world, doesn't come in through the doorway. So basically he sat down with another young gentleman, and they came up with the design, and it's been taken off ever since. So
CovenantEyes.com.
Covenant Eyes, yeah.
Is where people can go, and we will put this on our web address too at MichiganTalkNetwork.com, because I got to believe there'll be a lot of parents right now who say, that sounds like a great idea. Is it expensive?
It's not expensive. We have a monthly subscription. It's a subscription-based service, so it's monthly or annual, and depending if you want to pay for the year or not, and you pay by the ID. So we recommend, like I have 4 boys, I have individual IDs for each of my children, so I can monitor where they go on the internet, and we get weekly reports so I can see where they go, and the reports are, it's a rating system, sort of like the movies. You have mature, you have teen, so it's very easy to understand when you see a rating that comes across on your report that says, I want to have a rating that's teen-oriented for my teenagers, but if I have a 4-year-old, obviously they wouldn't be teen rating, they would be a younger rating. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, we're the only company that does the rating system, sort of like the movie rating system. Everybody else uses numbers. We do the rating. So
right here from Owasso, Michigan, but serving the world with Covenant Eyes. Bill Spencer, the Vice President of Operations, and Brendan Brown, the Faculty Manager, Professor of Economics of the Adult Degree Program at Northwood University. We got your Northwood pin right there. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Keith Priddy, the President of Northwood University, will be joining us later, too. Stay tuned. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan. Controversy in Dearborn tomorrow, too, as the pastor, Terry Moore, may be bringing his protesters to the Islamic Center there in Dearborn. The city has said he's not welcome. He said he may be there, and he may be packing heat on Good Friday. We'll be covering that for you as well. There is news coming out of the New York Auto Show. And Cheryl Freeborough, the owner of Hyundai of Lansing, who spent her career working with Saturn dealerships and now a Hyundai dealership in Lansing, is on the other end of our line. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
Pretty innovative company, Hyundai. Now we're seeing they're going to launch a program that guarantees trade-in value for 2 to 4 years. In other words, as I understand it, you buy the car, and the company says you'll be able to trade it in for X no matter what happens between now and 2 years from now. Is that how it works?
Right. Yeah, I'm surprised that they came out with it. I heard it on the news last night, and it kind of surprised me. We did hear about it last week when we were in Las Vegas for dealer meetings, and it's going to be launched April 1st, so I'm kind of surprised that it's out in the open already. They usually wait until the month starts, so I don't know the details, but yeah, that's the program. It's going to take the place of the program that they got rid of, where they would guarantee to buy back the vehicle if a person lost their job. So they're replacing it with the guaranteed trade-in value. I think Hyundai's values are going up, so they're pretty assured that they're going to be okay with it. It's going to be interesting to find out the details, because I'm sure there's got to be a mileage limitation, damage, some things like that that have to be, I would guess, have to be included in that program.
Wouldn't that make it similar to a lease, in other words? I mean, it's kind of the same thing. You can turn it in and get some of your money back. It's all sort of a wash, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a guarantee that you're not going to lose money when you trade your car in again to the Hyundai dealer. And a lot of people they call it upside down. They do owe more than the vehicle is actually worth, the trade-in value. It's not uncommon at all. I would say 25% of the people that come in are like that. So this will guarantee that you won't be in that position, that you will have a valuable vehicle when you go to turn it in, in 2 to 4 years. I had heard it was either 2 or 36, but now they're saying 4 years. So I'm sure we're going to get the details in the next few days, or at least by April 1st, which isn't far off. So it'll be fun to. Your listeners will be the first ones to hear the details. I'll call you first, okay?
Okay. We count on it. Thank you very much. And by the way, Hyundai sales climbed in 2010 by 23.7%. Did you recognize that kind of percentage sales increase at your dealership?
Even more at our dealership, because we really weren't too known in the community. So now that they see Hyundai and see the national advertising, our sales are going up. I've increased over last year, even beyond that.
Oh, congratulations. I'm test driving right now the 2007 Hyundai Veracruz, which, as I see right now, you have it for sale at less than the Blue Book value. It's only $19,295. It reminds me very much of the Buick Enclave in styling.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate comparison?
You can compare it really to the Acadia and the Lansing built vehicles.
Yeah.
But it gets better gas mileage, has higher safety ratings, and I think the cost is a little bit better as well.
Okay,
so
that's
we're going to start talking about that a little more, because people don't know the beautiful SUVs that we have, crossovers.
Cheryl Freeborough, Hyundai of Lansing. Thank you very much. Julie Bowen is next. Stay tuned. 10 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. We are in our American Metal Roof studio in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building. That's right downtown Lansing, a couple blocks from the governor's office, a couple blocks from the Capitol, and you're welcome to visit us any morning here. That's what we're here for. We have a coffee house on one side with windows to the studio, a lobby with memorabilia, and you can watch even from the street, where sometimes we go out with the microphone. It's 10 minutes before the hour. The Red Wings have advanced. They're the first team in the NHL to advance past the opening round of the playoffs. They swept the Phoenix Coyotes with a late win yesterday. The Tigers were winners yesterday, too. They're coming back to Comerica Park, and Michigan State was a winner yesterday, beating Central Michigan. They played in Comerica Park. Wouldn't you just love to be playing baseball on some of these cold weather nights with the damp rain and chill? When is it going to be spring? That's the question we're all asking each other. It's 7 minutes before the hour now. As I said, we are right here in downtown Lansing, but we're heard on radio stations all across the state in Mount Pleasant, Petoskey, Traverse City, Hastings, Lansing, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, and St. Joe, Benton Harbor. And Milan Tereja is with us here, the project manager for the Medical Center of Excellence deployment at Accident Fund Insurance Company of America, and an MBA student at Northwood University. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
Do you have you picked out your new office yet in the headquarters down the street?
It was picked out for me.
It was picked out for you. So you have, I'm sure, a corner office with windows looking out over the Capitol.
Not exactly, but I have a beautiful view.
Seems like we did the broadcast from your new building about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and we're going to be there for the Black Tie opening coming up in May. And what a special facility that is.
It's an amazing, and we're so glad to be downtown, part of the downtown community. It's just a beautiful, beautiful building. It's an absolute pleasure to work in.
Do you expect that the employees of Accident Fund will just sort of get a morale boost by moving into a facility like that? Does everyone look sharp, feel
Absolutely.
better?
Absolutely. And also, when you come into the new building, you'll find that it brings in a lot of light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to have a huge impact on productivity and also the morale as well.
Yeah, it's quite different than your other building.
Very much so, because the other building is built in an old style and was very dark inside. And the new building, especially the way we have incorporated technology, productivity enhancing technology, and just the visual effect of having the river on one side and the light coming in is just absolutely beautiful. In fact, we can see the ballpark from the boardroom. Yeah,
that's pretty good. And the growth here in downtown Lansing is encouraging. You know, we're experiencing it in Grand Rapids and other cities too, but we see it right before our eyes because we broadcast right here on the street and right across, right down the street from the Capitol. What is the Medical Center of Excellence deployment?
So what that is that we are using medical analytics to be able to understand how we provide care to the injured worker better. And based on that, we're using, again, data-driven analytics to figure out better ways to provide that care.
You decided, we're in a modern age, aren't we, of technology. We talk about it every single day on this program. It's unbelievable.
It is, and it's interesting too is that we are sort of in the workers' comp industry. Accident Fund is leading the way in using those kind of technologies, and very, very exciting to be part of that program.
Excited, too, I would imagine you are, to be part of Northwood University.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your thirst for learning, I'm guessing, never ends. But why did you pick Northwood, and what's the experience been like?
It's been an absolutely fabulous experience, and one of the reasons, and I did a little bit of research around the MBA programs that are being offered around the local area, what I found compelling about Northwood University was that it allows me classes to be in the evening, but the really big reason was the cohort or the way of learning and facilitated sessions, as opposed to the traditional method, which is, you walk into a class, the professor teaches the class. What we do at Northwood here is we teach each other, and the professors are essentially facilitators.
Really?
So it's a very, very different model, if you would.
How does that work?
So we have, like, in each class, anywhere between 15, 20, 25 people. Like, for example, my class, or my cohort, as we like to say, has 17 students. And we primarily focus on case studies, and we go into class, discuss those case studies in detail, and the instructor essentially helps guide that discussion to make sure that we cover our objectives, but essentially it's up to us to set our agenda for the evening. Very much like real life, this is what you'd experience at work.
Like a boardroom meeting almost.
Exactly. Very similar to that. You create your own agenda. We, how should I say, chaperone each other in our discussions, especially if you go off topic. And also we focus on what's relevant today, as opposed to a textbook that was probably written 3-4 years ago.
Just a working group every time you go to class.
Every time, every single time. And then we also meet outside the class to cover our assignments. So we have a group night, if you would, and that's a smaller group that an individual is in, and we get to even know those members very, very well as well. So
You see people of all ages in the MBA program at Northwood?
all ages.
That's something?
Yeah,
Different perspectives, eh?
And also, not only the age perspective, but also people are from different places in the world, different working environments, different experiences. It's absolutely amazing.
It is a worldwide university, indeed, Northwood University. We tend to sometimes, because we're so close to it, think of it as a Midland university, but that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, and also, we are very, here we are talking about the DeVos School of Management, and so that's also very international, given the DeVos backing.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank
Will
you.
you be at the black tie party?
Absolutely.
I'll see you
Looking forward
there.
to seeing you there, yeah.
We'll be in matching outfits, I bet. That's how it goes. Thank you very much. 3 minutes before the hour, Michael Patrick Shields. Television viewers, thanks for being with us. Tune to 1240 WJIM if you're in the Lansing area for another hour of this. The rest of the state, stay right where you are on the radio. I'll be back after the news.